The car ahead stops dead. You haven't even seen it yet. Radar spots the car, camera confirms it, brakes fire in 0.3 of a second. Brake time equals 0. 6 is /3 steps, 1 blink before your foot ever moves. Here's the problem the machine is solving. At 60 miles per hour, a car covers about 88 feet every second. A human needs roughly 1.5 seconds just to react. That's 130 feet gone before your foot even touches the pedal. Rear-end and pedestrian crashes are among the most common and the most preventable. Automatic emergency braking exists to close that gap. Why does 0.3 seconds matter? It's faster than you can move a foot. Step 1. Detect. Before anything can stop the car, something has to see the danger. And it isn't the camera first. Behind the badge on the grille sits a small radar sending out invisible waves, usually at 77 GHz. It sweeps 150 to 200 meters down the road. For every object those waves bounce off, it measures two things: how far away it is and how fast the gap is closing. That closing speed trick has a name: Doppler shift. When something moves toward the radar, the returning wave comes back squeezed to a higher pitch. The size of that squeeze tells the car exactly how quickly you're gaining. Radar has a superpower here. It sees through rain, through fog, through pitch darkness. None of it matters to a radio wave. But radar has one blind spot that shapes the whole system. It cannot tell what a thing is. A stopped truck, a metal bridge sign overhead, a manhole cover. To the radar, they're all just bright returns. So what comes out of step 1 is a list. Engineers call each entry a track, an object with a distance and a closing speed attached. Dozens of them, updated many times a second. Range, yes. Speed, yes. Identity, nothing. The radar knows something big is out there closing fast, but it has no idea whether it's a car or a sign. And that raises the next question. That covers the what's out there. Now the what is it? Step 2. Confirm. The radar handed over a bright, fast-closing return with no name on it. Now the forward camera, mounted up by the mirror, looks at the same patch of road. It answers the question radar can't. Is that a car? A pedestrian stepping off a curb? A cyclist? Or just a harmless overhead sign the radar panicked about? The camera has been trained on millions of images. It recognizes shapes the way you recognize a friend across a parking lot. Here's the clever part, and it's the whole reason the system works. The car doesn't act on radar alone, and it doesn't act on the camera alone. It cross-checks them. The radar says something solid is 40 meters ahead, closing at highway speed. The camera looks at that exact spot and says, yes, that's the back of a car. Two independent sensors, one agreement. Engineers call this sensor fusion. Its job is to make the system trust a threat only when both witnesses point at the same thing. Why go to all that trouble? Because a single sensor lies. Radar sees a metal soda can on the road as a threat. The camera sees a shadow and flinches. Neither alone is safe enough to trigger a slam on the brakes. Only when both agree does the danger become real. Which leaves one thing left to do. Both sensors agree, real car closing fast. Step 3. Brake. Now a small computer, the ECU, does one piece of math over and over. Closing speed against distance. The answer is a single number, time to collision. How many seconds until impact? As that number falls, the response climbs in stages. First a warning, a beep, a flashing light, a nudge, betting the human will react. If you do, nothing more happens. But if the number keeps dropping and your foot hasn't moved, the car stops waiting for you. It brakes itself. Here's where the speed lives. A normal brake press sends fluid down to the calipers, but that takes time to build pressure. So the system cheats ahead. It precharges the brakes, pushing the pads until they're a hair off the discs. Then a pump slams full pressure through in a fraction of that 0.3 second window. That's faster than a foot can travel from gas to brake. What is it trying to achieve? At low speed, a full stop. The crash simply doesn't happen. At highway speed, physics won't allow a full stop in the space left. So it does the next best thing. It sheds as much speed as it can. That's the difference between a fatal impact and one you walk away from. So the 3 steps are done. But does it always work? Now the honest part. This is an assist, not a chauffeur. Automatic emergency braking watches the road straight ahead, and that's exactly where its limits live. Cross-traffic sliding in from the side, an animal that bolts from the dark, an object that appears too suddenly to leave any stopping distance at all. The system can miss all of them because there simply isn't room to react. And speed is the ceiling on everything. Below about 50 miles per hour, these systems can often prevent a crash outright. Above it, physics takes over. No braking system on Earth can erase highway speed in the few feet a late detection leaves. So many systems aim to reduce the impact rather than prevent it. Slower is still safer, but slower isn't stopped. There's a flip side too. The same system sometimes brakes when it shouldn't. A hard, unexpected stab on an empty road. Drivers call it phantom braking. The usual culprits are an overhead sign or a scrap of road debris that the radar reads as a wall. Sound familiar? That's the radar's identity blind spot again. And it's the entire reason the camera confirmation step exists. So the mechanism has limits and quirks. But watch what it actually does when it fires clean. Watch the whole chain run once clean. A car ahead stops. The radar catches it first. A bright return closing fast, distance and speed locked in, but no name. The camera swings to the same spot and confirms it. Yes, a real vehicle. The ECU runs its one calculation, time to collision, sees the number cratering and fires the brakes. Detect, confirm, brake. The whole sequence lands inside 0.3 of a second. 300 milliseconds. Brake time equals 0, 6 is slash, now put a human next to it. You'd need about 1.5 seconds just to react. In the time the machine has already detected, confirmed, and clamped the brakes, a person hasn't even lifted their foot off the gas. That's the payoff of splitting the job into 3 fast steps. Dozens of feet of stopping distance handed back to you. The exact feet that turn a crash into a near miss you barely remember. That's it. 3 steps, 0.3 of a second. Detect, confirm, brake. Stopping a car faster than you can move your foot. But this is just the reflex. What happens when the same radar and camera stop reacting and start planning the whole drive? That's the leap toward full self-driving, and highway speed changes every rule. That's next.